for me, always it's a bit sad because often when the IMF comes in, the very prescriptions that they will be telling us to do are the things that we should be doing ourselves anyway, and that you don't really need an IMF as such in that regard. But many a time, the hard things that we should have been doing, we fail to do it. And I always liken the IMF, if you recall, in our secondary schools, you always have the headmaster or the head teacher who will come around with a big cane trying to get you to do the very things that you didn't do right in that regard. But of course, there would be some one or two pain points. There might be some reforms that would need to be undertaken. And I think as part of the broader conversation, what the government would try to do is to safeguard some of the other sort of what I call pro-social interventions that they're making. So, for example, the question of free SHS, planting for food and jobs, all these things that, in the view of the government, is really trying to bridge the inequality gap between the rural households and then the urban households. Those are things that typically in a program you might have to make some cuts, right, to that. Okay. And I think that the negotiation or the conversation will be around, if any, some cuts can be made in that regard, and the government wanting to, as much as possible, maintain funding to those sort of pro-social investments.